I joined a religious cult that manipulated me into marrying a psychopath, and I'm telling you about the internship where I met my ex-husband. This was my third year internship with Bethel School of Supernatural Ministry, and I was working with Georgian and Winnie Banov out in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. They had their own ministry school there, and that is where I met Ted. Despite having similar names and belief systems, this school was a lot weirder. So remember I told you about the fire tunnels that would happen at Bethel and how they were very obsessed with treasure hunts, the prophetic, falling on the floor, getting drunk in the spirit. Bethel did those things, but honestly, the students were still very hipster and cool. When I went out to Pennsylvania, it just felt weird. Like, it felt like we had taken a left turn into crazy, crazy town, which I know sounds silly because y'all are probably like, Bethel was crazy, and it was, but these people were obsessed with laughing in the spirit. That is the number one difference that I noticed. Like, almost every week ended with people being on the floor, laughing in the spirit, and just like causing a huge ruckus. This is a picture of me from my internship. So I was so young. I was just 20 years old, and I did not feel like I was fitting in this internship, but I was doing my best to have a good attitude because I, moved all the way out to Pennsylvania to do this. I first met Ted in the lobby of the church that was hosting this school, and he actually worked there as a janitor part-time. So I met him. He seemed like a very friendly person, and he immediately wanted to give me a prophetic word the first time that we met. So all I had known about Ted, I was not close with him the first part of the year, but all I knew about Ted is that everyone loved him and thought that he was the best guy there. They truly could not have hyped up this guy more. They said that he won the award last year for like the best student award. It's basically a popularity contest. Bethel had something similar. And they just said that he was always going out of his way to help people and that he truly had a passion for, helping his fellow community and being a good guy. But one thing I quickly learned is that his ex was actually Sarah. Sarah, the girl that I went out and got coffee with at the beginning of the year. So I did know that they had a past, but when I talked to him about it later, he told me that they had broken up during the summer. So they had already been broken up for like 4 or 5 months. That is what was communicated to me at the time. But he was not on my radar romantically at all at this point. But I was actively trying to find a husband because ring before spring. At this time, I was working at a diner overnight because I needed money. So I was working from 10 p.m. to 6 in the morning. It was a very hard job. There were often bar fights. It wasn't a bar, it was a diner, but people would come after the bars and they would get in fights. Like one time we had a 15-person brawl in the middle of the diner. So it was a very stressful job. I was constantly dealing with drunk people and I was trying to just pay my rent. My first housing option ended up falling through, so I ended up having to move into a house with some students from Global Awakening. So some of y'all had brought up Global Awakening. They have a school out in Mechanicsburg, I believe. So I ended up getting invited to move in with some students there. So it was 2 guys and a married couple. The married couple was super weird. Super, super weird. Can't stress that enough. And one of the guys was awesome. I used to go out to breakfast with him all of the time. And another one of the guys thought that God told him that we were supposed to get married. So I had to tell him, no, I don't think God told you that. And that was like a common thing that people would say. Okay. So it was weird. But anyway, living in this house was a very interesting environment because this married couple wanted to kind of have like a spiritual hold over us. Like just because we were living in this house, they thought that they could tell us what to do and that we were going to be a ministry house, whatever that means to them. Get ready for a Bethel crossover because our landlord was actually a famous musician person that I'm not going to name drop because I don't want to get in trouble, but he was our landlord out in Harrisburg and he was the worst because we had some issues with our heat and he would not fix it. So because he would not fix it, we ended up sleeping in a house that got down to like 20 degrees. I could see my breath in this house. I was sleeping on an air mattress in my room and I had a little space heater. I was wearing like 3 sweaters, 4 pairs of pants, like so many socks, and I was shivering myself to sleep every night. And this went on for about 2 weeks. When I came back from Christmas, my roommates let me know that they were moving out because they could not afford to live there anymore, especially since the heat was broken and it wasn't even a livable environment. So there was one night where I was sitting in the church and I was crying to my mom. I was on the phone and I was saying, I think I'm going to have to come home. I'm not going to be able to finish my Bethel internship because I have nowhere to go and I don't have that much money and all of my roommates are moving out and I only have, I don't know, like 3 or 4 days to find a place to live. So I was crying on the phone with her in the lobby of this church. But little did I know that somebody was listening to help me, and who knows if they were listening with good intentions or if they were stalking me, which I will get into. So follow for the next part.